First of all, thanks everybody for coming. Hopefully you'll get a really great opportunity to hear some really raw stories about what's happening in the marketplace today. But before we get into content, I really want to pay our respects to the traditional owners of the land that we're meeting on. Obviously in the Gadigal country, and pay our respects to current or past, present and emerging leaders. There's a lot we can learn from our Indigenous forebearers, and really feel passionate about what they bring to culture and the sense of community. So, which is what we're all about. It's all about community. So, today we're going to hear some really insightful and very raw and real topics from Rachel today, and really again talking about some of the realities of what's happening in the economic environment and what's been happening over the last 12 months. And talking about now and talking about how we sort of position ourselves for the future. So that's going to be really, really great, really, really, really deep. We'll then go into a panel conversation. We've got a number of... I'll take that slide. Cheryl's not with us. Cheryl was going to moderate. Unfortunately, you're going to get me moderating. So you might want to leave now if it's too much. Rachel's going to be obviously on the panel, sharing her insights. We've also got Steve Brown, who we went through our design thinking journey at CBA many years ago.
Yeah. In
fact, Steve was the lead on my the very first design project I was ever on. So I learned a lot from Steve in that context, and Gus, who's spent many years in recruitment in design and actually has recently changed industries too because of some of the challenges in the environment. So we've got a lot of insights as to what's happening and how people are positioning themselves and how we're moving forward. Our organisers, obviously me, yours truly, but Kate, who can't be here tonight, and Kylie, unfortunately, can't be here tonight, and Ben's up in the back there, quietly today. He's the foundation of everything.
We are the foundation.
We are the foundation.
We are the world.
But yeah, we always try and make sure that we're delivering from a community perspective. Special thanks to the sponsors today. So ThinkPlace, really amazing space. We've also got Shapeshifters today. Another digital scribe, Liam, stepping in. So if you ever want to step in and practice the trade of digital scribing, you'll get a bit of coaching and mentoring, and we give people an opportunity through Shapeshifters for them to try their trade before they do it in a more intense environment. So Liam will be sharing some of his work later on tonight, so thank you, Liam. Just, Michelle, did you want to talk a little bit about what ThinkPlace does?
Sure. Hi everyone, I'm Michelle. I am one of ThinkPlace, part of the Synergy Group. We're the strategy design innovation arm of the Synergy Group consulting firm. I'm one of the executive directors. Kira, who's from Exeter, is also one of the other executive directors of the ThinkPlace New South Wales market. So we work a lot with the public sector, doing everything from pure strategy to doing ethnographic research, to doing innovation and futures, and a broad range, but essentially working with the public sector. So if you want to know a little bit more, please reach out after the chat.
Yeah, you can get a good insight. Great insights from the website too, though. I think you position things quite nicely to get people thinking as well. So go and check it out, have a look. Shapeshifters.
Hey guys, I am actually just here representing Shapeshifters at the moment, so the main heads are currently busy at the moment, so so bear with me, sorry. So we are a strategic communication design agency, so what our goal is to help organizations and teams use visual thinking and human-centered design to kind of deliver their complex ideas and kind of find a message with what they're trying to give out there. So I think for the past year I think it's been over a year at this point, we've teamed up with SUNY Design Thinking. Yes. Yep. You're on. Sorry. So we teamed up with them to kind of create a safe space for people to give graphic notation, sketch noting a go in a public setting. So to introduce, we got main man today, Liam, here today to help sketch note into the platform. So ideally what we want is if anyone here is interested, Lucas has mentioned, we'll help mentor you to kind of give it a go for the next one. And I really encourage that anyone of any profession give it a go, because what we're trying to do here is kind of spread the word about trying to visually think and in different ways in different professions. So yeah, I think, in fact, the next slide, we have Ben, in fact, is hosting our next Think. So if you guys are interested, we do that in the morning. That's in the 21st. Yeah, so that's on the 21st. So if you're interested in going to that, it's in the morning. So there's that. But yeah, so I hope you guys can come to that. He's keeping on the download what it's about. I don't know what's happening now. So I hope you guys can come. It's a fostering community. It's really building up. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I don't think Alan and I are not allowed to speak anymore. You're going to be doing all the.
Yeah, sweet. I hope you guys represent.
It actually is really nice to have a meetup that is in the morning, because it is a very different vibe. It's actually really cool to, on your way into work, go in, have a bit of breakfast, network, coffee. Yeah, it's just awesome. Yeah, it's really good. It's a really good meetup. I really highly recommend it. This is where we get to talk about where we're going with from a membership perspective, and really for us, it's actually about the community. So we do this because we love the connection that happens in the room when we get together once a month. So we're chasing the vanity metric. We want to get to 10,000. We're almost there.
We're 36 short.
36 short, so we're nipping 10 on top of this.
Ask your partners, family.
Yes.
So we set ourselves
Strangers.
a target trying to get to 10,000 before our 10th birthday, which is this June. So we're going to try and plan something big for June, which will be really cool.
We have something big planned for June.
Yep. So that's going to watch this space. Should be enough to get 36 more people, hopefully. You can tell your friends. So yeah, but thank you, really and truly heartfelt. Really, thank you so much to everybody in this room for making this event, because obviously we get some great people coming to present, but that's not going to really add much value if we don't have a community to present to and to network with. So it's so great that we have so many people here today. So thank you.
Thanks to everyone.
Talking about community,
Yeah,
Susan.
so talking about the community, and I apologize for those of you who heard this spiel on Tuesday. For those of you who heard this spiel on Tuesday, you know what I'm about to say. We were going to come tonight and bribe you with discount tickets to the workshop. But instead, we're coming here to say,
Too slow.
too slow, you can't do that. However, what we're doing, and this is what I was saying the other night as well, what we're doing is we're trying to see if there's enough appetite to run a second session. And if there is, then we will twist Cornelius's arm and try and make it happen. So if you didn't already vote the other day, I'd appreciate you just grabbing this QR code and tell us if you're not interested in no?
Anyone not got a ticket to the 14th who'd like to do the 12th? Hands, and then hit that
but
QR code as well.
Hit this QR code just so we have a sense. And if you look at the QR code, if you look at the form, you'll see there's a long. For those of you who don't even know what we're talking about, there's a description of what the event is on that form. And then there's telling you what the price is. And we could do early bird again, and then we would do regular general admission, and yes, we will give you a discount code if you're on our list. So. Okay, so that's the.
Like if you fill out the form, that puts you on the list.
Yeah,
that's
that
a good
puts you on
incentive.
the list. It's not committing you to buying, but it's just whether or not we should bother. Okay, so that's what that is all
Don't go
about.
anywhere
But
yet.
to be honest, value for money.
Yeah,
It's
crazy
an
cheap.
awesome value for money. Like it's like roughly around that $300 mark.
Yeah.
Give or take whether you're early or
Yes, exactly.
late. And that's like for a whole day event. That's amazing.
For an international speaker.
Yeah, and he's terrific, by the way. He's a really cool dude.
And he also he leads the Canucks, doesn't he?
He does.
Canada UX.
Yeah, and there's an annual conference that they have every year. Yeah. Okay. Can I
No.
sit? No, I can't sit
We've
down.
got to talk about May.
Oh.
We've got to tease May.
Oh yeah.
The other thing.
Oh yeah.
Coming soon.
Yeah,
Full
yeah.
details are coming
Oh
soon.
yeah. There you go. Full
Well,
detail.
We're working details out, but Susan's going to be front and centre. As you
Yeah, keep going, Susan.
and
Make the promise.
Yeah. So yeah, something's going to happen in May that week. If we don't do the workshop, if you don't pay money for a workshop, we're going to do something else, and we're going to twist Cornelius's arm to be there.
Which could be a content thing, or it might just be a social thing. But that week of May, we'll have another Design Connection mega meetup.
Right.
So Design Connection being SydDT, CCX, Kevin in the front, and EUX. So when we do stuff together under the Design Connection, with Susan and Vera as the backbone bringing us together.
Yeah. So kind of keep that in mind. Keep potentially that Thursday night in mind. Just saying. Just saying.
For sure. Thank you,
Is
Susan.
June the next one?
Don't forget the vote.
Yeah. Hit that QR code.
Maybe.
And I'll do a very quick shout out for June. So as Lucas mentioned, it'll be on the 12th of June is our 10th birthday. 11th of June 2015 is when we had our very first SydDT. So we're almost there on 10 years, and we're only 30 odd away from 10,000 members. All of these things will converge. Not quite in time, we'll probably have another meetup in between times, but where's Rihanna gone? There she is. So, what do we end up calling it? Sort of design, spatial design for interactive experiences in public spaces. That set of words in a slightly more elegant.
That is the title.
AA enabled.
Yes.
So Rihanna and Stephen Byer, I don't know if people remember Stephen. Not so much based in Sydney anymore, but used to be in the early 2010s, went to USyd. Lots of interesting stuff, been doing stuff with Vivid for a long time. And so that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. So designing for big public installations, designing for behaviour change through that, around citywide, smart cities for sustainability, all of that kind of stuff. So that's what we are going to be talking about in June. And Rihanna's going to be speaking as well. And I'm out.
This is where we get into the main event. And our star of the show, Rachel.
Yay! Oh.
So I think Rachel, just as a quick introduction, actually the first time I reached out to Rachel about potentially coming and speaking was, I think you posted some really funny posts about leaders farting first.
Yes, yes, that's right.
But I quite love the philosophy of just putting yourself out there and letting your team learn from you, just being more vulnerable and being authentic.
Thank you.
Which when we've had chats about your content tonight, it's about you being very authentic about the journey over the last 12 months. So you'll get some very raw insights about the market as it stands now, and obviously where Rachel's going to now, which is cool. You've got a job recently.
Yay!
That is awesome. Got a few jobs recently. Rains
Yes,
applause.
that's true. That's true.
So yeah, I won't go more into the content, but I think I'm really thankful that you're here. It's going to be an amazing sharing. So
Thank you. It's the passing of the clicker. Thank you, Lucas. I now have like massive FOMO because I just moved to Melbourne, and now I feel like I need to fly back for this all the time. In my mind, I thought it'd be like an intimate group of 10 to my.
Until you do Melbourne Design Content.
Oh yeah, then you guys come up. Thank you so much for joining tonight. As Lucas said, we're going to be talking about some more raw topics. The ChatGPT trend came out, and I thought I had to jump on it and create a Menti-B version of a breakdown. And what I really want to share today is my personal experiences and the lessons I've learned in a tough economy in the last 9 to 12 months. And hopefully I'll pass on those lessons and you will recover much faster than I did in the stressful economy and the financial pressures that's been going on lately. And hopefully it'll help you guys bounce back faster and find more opportunities and flip the script if any of you are going through that at the moment. What up? So 2024 was a pretty shit year for the tech industry. Yeah. They even made, if you go to this website, they even track it. So it's quite interesting to watch the fascination with how shit it has been in the last year or so. As you can see, so many companies and employees have been impacted by the layoffs. Unfortunately, 2025, it has, I think I can feel the market shifting, but still in the US here, as you can see, the amount of open tech jobs really kind of fell flat at 2023, and it's only slowly creeping up. So it makes a lot of sense and a lot of context why we might be in the situations that we're in now. It's also quite uncertain times at the moment, you know. All we hear about is tariffs, and the current global economy as we know it is changing, and we don't know where it's going to go. We don't know what this dude is going to do, and it's just really, yeah. Oh yeah, do you want to go? It's very uncertain time, so giving yourself a bit of grace on that too. Can you see? Yep, I can move back because I know what I've written. So how did that affect designers? I think we all saw it happen. Contractors are being let go, full-time employees being let go, markets then flooded with talent, it becomes an employer's markets, all our day rates drop, freelance projects get dried up. I've been scope ghosted so much, where you get asked to start a project and then it disappears. Recruiters are then affected as well, and cost of living goes up, and then we designers think about coding. Should we have swapped? I know, I did. Again, using ChatGPT, I just gave it a bit of my day-to-day, and it created this chaotic flowchart, which doesn't quite make sense, but it actually feels very reflective of the experiences that I went through. And I find that instead of talking about it, I, anyway, prefer to spiral on my own. So financial stress, open bank app to assess damage, panic briefly and consider learning Excel or coding again. Check if Mercury's in retrograde, treat yourself to a $7 latte, then that, just because you deserve it. And then go in that loop of like applying for jobs, wait and cry. This is me, my experience. I'm not saying you are all doing that. And then sometimes undercharging and over-delivering, and then updating your portfolio, and just going in this loop of being effective and also completely useless at the same time, was my experience. But I'm glad that this is my generation, because we all can hear the song lyrics playing in our mind, but you are not alone. I am here with you. And Otto von Bismarck, the first Chancellor of the German Empire, who gives very main character energy, he says, "Only a fool learns from his mistakes. The wise man learns from the mistakes of others." Or women, or they. So this is what I want to impart to you and hopefully help share my lessons. So following the TikTok trend, she doesn't know it yet, but she's about to make a diddly squat income for the next 9 months. You know, I think one of my strengths is that I'm very joyful. I have a very too strong positive mental attitude. My personal trainer at the time was like, he's like, "How is it?" And I'm like, "It's great, it's great, it's great." He's like, "If it isn't great, I want you to tell me." But that's just kind of my personality, and I think what the edge that comes with that is also naivety, and that's what I experienced about thinking that everything will always work out, and it does always work out, but just not in the time frame that you think it will. So just to give you a little bit of a background, again, I used AI. I gave it my timeline of what I did, chaotic mess, but again, very reflective of how I felt. So just a quick story of what kind of happened. I quit my job in 2024 in July. I had 2 jobs at that time, and I had really high hopes of building out this business as a startup, which was a self-assessment tool for teams. Very magical. I thought it would be amazing. You know, money would just come rolling in. I had also a design contract that I split with my co-founder, so we had a few bucks. And then I think the reality of the economy started to bite both of us. You know, there was the company that we were working for, they were having financial issues with their client, so they weren't getting paid, so they had to stop the contract with us. And then if you've ever tried to sell anything to corporate, the vendor sign-on phase is quite long. They might be like, "Yeah, we really want that in September next year." And so, yeah, we were going through the ups and downs of starting a new business, the excitement of a small win or a big win, and then just counting your bank account and being like, what am I going to do? So my life was quite chaotic at that time. Me and my partner's lease was up, so we decided to move to Bali to save a bit of money, but that's still spending money, so picked up some side projects with Askable, and I think that was really helpful as well. And networking, I think I've messaged about like 50 to 80 people in my network for coffees, for catch-ups. It was a really full on time, and just a quick trajectory, moved to Bali, didn't work out, was surfing in a diaper, floated past, and I thought, what am I doing here? Then I told the guy, I think I've just got caught in some seaweed, and he's like, that's plastic and that's trash. And I decided maybe Bali wasn't the right move for me at this time. So then we moved back to Adelaide to live on my partner's mother's farm. So as you can feel, there's just a lot of uncertainty. I'm trying to find work, money's depleting, crying all the time while trying to look like I still had it kept together. So anyway, it goes up, but I'll go into a bit of detail on that later. So I think for me, where the magic moment where it all happened was somewhere between jobless with job and crying on the couch. And ironically, I thought everything would be better once I had work, and I thought, you know, everything's going to be okay. But I spent a lot of time crying on the couch and just feeling like a failure, and then wasn't really talking to anyone about it. I might talk to my partner about it, but you can't just rely on one person all the time. I think that's exhausting for everyone. And I can't even tell you how the shift happened, but I was doing a lot of jobs for Askable, and I was putting in a lot of effort. You know, I think for a while I was feeling a bit entitled. I was like, I've been in this industry for so long, I know so many people, I've done such a hard job, why can't someone just give me a fucking job? Like, I just felt that entitled rage within me. And it's fair, I think you're allowed to feel the things as long as you take the appropriate action and you don't go around shouting at people. So I spent a lot of effort on my Askable projects that I got, and just the reward that I felt of doing a good job for someone was slowly starting to pull me back to center. And then one day, just being in Adelaide on the farm, surrounded by people who were chill, who loved me, who could not give a fuck about what job I was doing, they also had very little. I think I just realized, and it wasn't even a mind change, I just felt it in my body, where I realized that I was really worthy, that no matter if I had a job or didn't have a job, I could still add value to the world, and therefore I was enough. And it sounds so cheesy, but that body and mind shift at that point meant I started to approach finding a job with such a different energy. And I think I showed up with a lot more gratitude. I think I even made a post about it, how I was like, I'm not doing design challenges, you should know how good I am. And then a recruiter called up and was like, Salesforce want you to do this, but you have to do a design presentation to get for the interview. And I was like, oh, yes, absolutely. When do you need to buy? And I ended up spending 20 to 30 hours on it, and it felt so good, you know? It felt like I cared, it felt like I really wanted the job, and my whole mentality was different at that point. I was really proud of it. I even added in a lot of jokes about Severance. Does anyone watch? They didn't. Yeah, none of them watched Severance, and I was like, I had to explain it was a really funny joke. I created my own framework for the project they wanted me to do called the Lumen Framework. And then I put a picture of Miss Casey and I said, please try to enjoy each phase separately. What is it? Equally. And then no one laughed, but I'm glad it can be appreciated here. So then I did end up getting the Salesforce job, which was amazing. But at the same time, I had an old manager reach out and offered me a job with them at RACV. And even though I wrestled with it because Salesforce sounded so sexy, and I was like, oh my God, I'm finally cool again. And RACV was insurance. And, you know, sometimes the ego in me was like, just be cool. But it was, in my whole body just felt like RACV was the right decision. I couldn't even explain it to people, but I just knew the people who had brought me back. I knew the work they were doing. I knew the opportunities it would unlock. So I resigned from Salesforce. That's another story, but that went super well. That wasn't sarcasm, it actually went really well. I'm happy to share it if you want to come ask me, but yeah, I worked for 2 weeks, went on holiday for 2 weeks for South by, then resigned for 2 weeks, and I thought, fuck, they're gonna hate me. The client's gonna hate me, Salesforce is gonna hate me, my recruiter. But yeah, there's ways to mitigate that, and I will share that another time. So I think it's really important for us to choose innovation over trauma. So when shit happens, I think we're all given that opportunity to make something of it. And I would say I could trace my journey here. You know, fragile is me feeling like a victim, like everything was going wrong and why can't it just go my way? Resistance for me was the roller coaster of the ups and downs, of the joyous moments, and then also feeling entitled, but shit going wrong at the same time. And I think resilient for me is when I started working hard on the small projects, but still feeling quite lost and not sure what to do. And anti-fragility is, for me, knowing my worth, and that just completely transformed. I stepped into that more creator energy, and currently, you know, I thought full-time job doesn't mean I can't work on all the other things that bring me life. And working with Charbel, some of you guys might know, for the Academy XI, we're trying to build out a venture school to help people learn how to build their own products. So you just shift your whole mindset, and I think that's what we want to aim for, is that anti-fragility, and we don't let things break us. So the 3 things that I want to share today is what I think we need to come out winning in an economy like this. So first is master your inner world. 2, at the same time, take action. 3, stay plugged into world events. And 4, a bonus, I put together a daily plan for when you just can't. You know, your brain just, you're so stuck. Sometimes it's nice just to have a schedule to keep to. So, mastering your inner world. This is a really great saying. I didn't choose the right image for it, but it's a quote from Buddhist monks. They say that when the first arrow hits you, that's just when shit happens and something is bad has occurred in your life. But what we all tend to do is fire the second arrow at ourselves for judging whatever emotion has come up about it or whatever has happened. So what we want to do is avoid the second arrow. Just deal with the first thing, which is we were looking for work or there's financial pressures. We don't need to add that extra layer of, oh my God, I'm a shit designer. I knew I shouldn't have done that workshop that way. Everyone's heard about it and no one will hire me, which is some of the thoughts that I went down. And your actions might look exactly the same, but I think it's really, really powerful, the mindset of where it comes from. And one of the hard truths I learned from this is that no one is coming to save us. Like, no one. No one wanted to hear me complain. I wasn't entitled to a job, even if I'm good at my job, I'm not entitled to just have one appear, which crossed my mind many, many times. And I think getting yourself into that abundance mind consciousness just means you show up and people feel that energy different from when you approach them. And another badass spiritual leader, Groove Dev, says, take decisions with a calm mind. When you take decisions in restlessness, you get into trouble. And I found that a lot. When I was trying to apply for jobs, I think I had this energy of just like desperation, entitlement. Even though I try to be polite and I try to be grateful, there was a lot of opportunities that just couldn't land, and I just couldn't close that deal or I couldn't get that job. So yeah, I really, really believe that's one of the most important things. And also, lucky girl syndrome is not just a TikTok trend. I don't know if you guys have heard about this experiment that was conducted. Richard Wiseman ran an experiment asking people. Yes, so he asked people if you self-identified as lucky or not, and then asked people to find and count how many photos and pictures were in a newspaper. And all the people who self-identified being lucky found the first photo, which says, there are 43 photos in here you don't need to count. And they also found the second photo, which said, you get a $50 bonus voucher for finding it. And all the people who said they weren't lucky spent ages trying to count all the pictures and got the pictures wrong, and they were really stressed out. So even just the belief that you are a lucky person means you see opportunities and you see different things appearing in your life that are conspiring to work for you. Ooh, went backwards. We don't want to do that. And I think some of the actions you can take, which I call foundations, they're all free. And these really helped me kind of get back into a better human to be around. So moving your body, walking is free, staying hydrated, tap water is free, but I know fluoride is a thing, so if you can get free filtered water from somewhere, do it. Eating whole foods, not so free, so maybe try and shop at markets. Meditate, there's lots of free meditations on the internet. Prioritize sleep, get some sun, and talk to a friend. And I think these are just such basic things that we all forget. And For me, meditation goes straight out the window when I'm going through a hard time, but it's probably the one thing I need. I also get really cranky if I don't walk, and I've learnt that about myself. So taking myself out for a walk like a dog is really important. But yeah, none of this is revolutionary. It's just a reminder of things that we already know. At the same time, so taking action. Look, just fake confidence. Even if you feel like a victim, pretend you're not. You just got to trick your mind into however you need to. Fake gratitude. Even if you feel like you're super mad and entitled, just speak gratefully. Put in more effort, so double down on prep for interviews, design tasks, personality tests, whatever they throw at you. Apply for jobs, quantity and quality. The person, Gus, who's speaking after me, he's going to give some really good insights into the current trends and a bit more pragmatic advice on that as well. And treat it as self-R&D. So pair your strategy with your passion. What can you learn or invest in yourself right now that's going to help you in the future? I thought I'd put up some recruiters that I know as well who are really great, and they're actively recruiting. These are all top-notch humans, so if you're looking for work, reach out to them. And I prefer to go through recruiters because I think LinkedIn sometimes just feels like a black hole. Like you'll send an application and you'll just never hear anything. But if you make a connection with a good recruiter and they like you, then all their credibility backs up your credibility in the way they speak to their clients. So I think it's really worth investing in those relationships with people. So yeah, I love recruiters. You can also do some cash on the side. Askable saved my butt. They have so many great little research projects you can get involved into, hone your research skills. I think, yeah, you can make up to like 8K a month. If you want to do more, you can do that, just to keep the cash flow going if things get tight. Upwork, everyone knows about Upwork. Freelancer, Top Total is another great site to sign up to. There's just so many of them. And then if you want to go into that creator energy, maybe becoming a TikTok content creator. It's where the future is heading. We are heading towards a creator economy. Apparently influencers are out. And maybe even starting your own startup. So just you can see that trajectory of opening the doors of how can I make this situation work for me rather than just focusing on getting one job. I also find LinkedIn very, very powerful, and I think it's because of LinkedIn that I'm here now speaking, if we trace it back really. And for me, LinkedIn was always I just thought I've got nothing of value to say, and I thought, why not just challenge yourself? Just post twice a week and see what happens. And then a year and a half later, it kind of took a life of its own and opened up so many opportunities for me, and I think it's something that just goes with you wherever you go. So it's your own brand equity. It's so important to create the things that no one else is going to do for you. Rosie Chong's an awesome LinkedIn brand strategist. If you don't follow her already, I would. She just empowers people how to make that jump into doing it. And also going to events, I think, is really helpful. I almost got a job by going to Friends of Figma, but I fucked it up because I was in that scarcity mindset phase. And I think it's just really nice to connect with people and remind yourselves why you're in this industry, lean on the community. I think the design community is very strong, and we were joking earlier with Steve that, you know, maybe the dev community is slightly different in how they connect. And I think it's really nice, the energy that we have. So these are a few really good ones. SydDT, obviously here, Design Ops, Friends of Figma, The Outlook, and Therapy for Designers. And there's plenty, plenty more. Oops, double the slide. Design the future. So we're designers, let's design for the world we're in. This is really, you know, it's our job to see and solve problems that are upcoming. Let's just apply those skills to ourselves. There's all this stuff happening. The world is shifting, AI, automation, climate, understanding the context of cultural, economic, political realities that are driving our future. My partner had some Tesla shares and I was like, ixnay, I think it's time to go. Because of all the things that had happened, and also understanding the economy of EV vehicles in China and the competitive market in which they're rolling them out every 3 months, a new model. So I'm not sure if it's the right choice. I'm hoping it is, so I look super smart. But
Did he sell them?
He did sell them. They dropped so much by that point. So I think it's just understanding the world we're living in. We can do that research ourselves, staying up to date with the news. And then also empathy as well. So being able to tell our stories, understand other people's stories, and let's not just react, anticipate, let's shape, and let's act with courage. So this is my daily schedule that I followed that really helped for me. Take from it what you will, but I just set a schedule of like moving, eating well, setting a time period to apply for my jobs, work on my portfolio, network with people, meditate, invest in myself, and in the afternoon I made sure it was a bit more fun. I treated it like free time or time off, visiting friends, going for dance classes, like cheap free dance classes, because we want to avoid, see if this works. We want to avoid this. And this happens a lot, you know, when we're in our job, looking for a job, we're the same as when we have a job and when we don't have a job. So just making sure to make time that we do have and use it well. So my advice is don't chase happiness, become anti-fragile. I think I actually stole that from someone else's book, so I will find what that is and reference them. I don't have all the solutions, but hopefully you feel empowered to find your solutions for whatever you might be going through in this economy. And if all else fails...
If you feel like shit and giving up, remember there is someone out there who prays for that. Do you want your enemies to win?
No.
Do you want your enemies to be happy? Do it out of pettiness. Imagine you are about to give up and someone you absolutely hate is in that room praying. Please, universe, let them fall. Do you want them to hurt? Do you? Do you want them to look at you and be like, damn, I won? Do you want your ops and enemies to win? Never give up. Never admit defeat.
Yes. Do it out of pettiness if you must. And that's it. So thank you. Master your emotions, take action, feel free to connect if you want to chat more. And yeah, hopefully you feel more empowered. Thank you.
So a bit of a backstory before we get Gus up here. We were having a few chats about the panel and the content, and Gus was sharing stuff with Rach, and Rach has gone and said, you seem to have a lot of expertise in this area, and I think you should talk for these next few slides. So Rach volunteered Gus to be an additional speaker tonight.
Woo!
And he got told
Like 10 minutes before
the session, so we threw a few slides in there for you. They're not pretty slides, they're there to provide a bit of content to talk to. And he has not been prepped for a talk, but he's going to do it anyway.
And he's going to knock it. Yeah, Gus.
Thank you, Rachel.
Woo!
Thank you, Gus. Appreciate it.
I love being roped into things that I didn't expect.
You're going to read every word that's on the screen.
Absolutely. For everyone who's taking photos, these will be made available after the test. Because, I'm not a designer, as you can see, but wouldn't pass any accessibility rules or anything. But the reason why I'm standing here, and it's the same reason why I've been in design recruiting for over 7 years, and that's to really help find the right job for the right person, and vice versa. And I can say the last few years have been absolutely heartbreaking. I've spoken to many of you were either going through a redundancy or like a contract ended, and suddenly you go from 800 a day to like, oh, no one wants is offering or even hiring, and if I do get something, it's 200 or 500. Like, what the hell is happening? So it's been a lot of chaos, and what I wanted to do for you tonight is provide you a bit of a background, like what the hell is happening, and what misère has happened. And yes, I know it's not my fault, but what can we make? How can we make sense of this? So this is an overview of different market trends, hiring trends, etc. So I'll go through that in a little bit more. You can read this later, but in summary, what we experienced as of 2020 was essentially a big shock to everyone. Don't have to explain what happened there. But what was interesting was what happened directly after, like mid-2020, which was a big digital transformation. Every company suddenly, we're all working remotely now. Everything is happening online. oh shit, our app doesn't really work, or we don't have an app. So suddenly everyone needed a design team, and that meant a huge increase and a lot of, well, relief in the design community, like, oh, finally, this is our moment to shine. But unfortunately, that didn't take too long because uncertainty, got the better of the markets. Let's go brief overview there. So rather than short-term commitments, there was a lot of uncertainty and companies focused more on long-term commitments. Salary growth slowed. What you also have noticed is suddenly, instead of one thing, you had to do everything. So everyone needed to be a unicorn. And if there were roles out there, you needed to be a unicorn as well, and nothing short of it, which is absolutely unfair of what you were being asked for. If anything, it became more clear that as a market, Sydney didn't know what design is. There were exceptions here and there, like luckily good powerhouses in design still remained. But what followed was a period of prolonged fiscal caution. Risk management was more important than growth. Things seemed to run, but nothing was invested more. What happened next is actually, let's go through that first, because I wanted to make sense of this, because, and I turned to Ray Dalio, and fingers, who knows Ray Dalio? Woo! Okay, a few.
All weather fund.
Exactly. Well, he's a big economist, investment, and he's one of the only few who actually predicted the global financial crisis. And the figure here is the one that really sparked my interest, because essentially what you see here, oh, that was the end slides. Interesting. Do we have more slides to add to that? That's okay, I'll make do with this. So what you essentially see is that in the beginning, this is essentially the boom that we've experienced. And you'll see there's a bit of a squiggly up and down from what's the seasonal change. But essentially we had a big boom and resurgence of digital around mid-2020s. And then we experienced what you can describe as, I love how everything is happening at the same time.
I have this one downloaded.
Let's see. There we go. Luckily I did do some printouts. So followed by that, there was what Ray would describe as a reset. It's just a natural cause, a natural cycle of an economy. Credit goes down, or the need for design went down massively. And where we're now at is at the bottom. The bottom bit was basically 2022 to 2024, where we kind of start to restabilize. And we've seen a lot of instability over a while, but now at the beginning of 2025, you will have seen, there we go, yes, a consolidation of that. We actually do need design. We can't just rely on what's already there, or we need data. So you've suddenly seen in the beginning of 2022, Atlassian let go of like most of the UX research team. And interestingly, what's not often mentioned, there were about 80 research positions that were made redundant in Sydney, but it also included about 120 internal talent acquisition people. So that paints a bit of a broader picture. What's also interesting to mention is that in that period, companies moved from external agencies to engaging more internal talent acquisition. So that meant for me, that meant I was working with heads of design, designers, and suddenly, well, no, thank you so much for sending this resume, but no, we have our internal team now. So what that meant for you guys is that suddenly you're faced with internal recruiters who have just been hired and have maybe an understanding of IT, but not so much of design. So suddenly you have to re-explain design again. Luckily, that has now matured a little bit more. But as an add-on tip for when you face the job market right now, definitely also connect with internal talent teams, especially when you are interested in a specific domain. And that's, oh yeah, bingo, that's where we are. So to understand the Sydney market a little bit, yeah, like you probably know Australia as a big mining country with a lot of resources. Well, actually, as of this month, it is true that the GDP represented by mining is less than by the GDP of financial institutions. So let that sink in. We're a country that thrives more on our banking systems invested by us rather than our natural resources. Interesting side notes. But what that means is that, especially in Sydney, the likes of NAB, CBA, and Westpac, they have one of the largest designers capability across the country. So if you're looking for a job, that's a good area to look at. They mostly hire perm. I recruited for Westpac as well, and I've seen salaries for a principal designer go from 180 to 120 at the lowest. So if you're wondering why am I offered like such a low bar, that's the market. Very stable is government agencies, and we've got plenty of those, even though Service New South Wales just did a massive reduction because their policy changed, their long-term program finished. So at the moment not so much, but if you look at, for example, Department of Education, Transport, there's always stable jobs out there, but you might need to go direct or through a recruiter who is maybe not a design specialist, but more likely liaised with governments. Insurance companies, we've got a lot of them, including also TAL, Allianz, etc. So again, reach out to internal TAs there. Also retail groups, airlines and telcos, and startup and innovation. And what's not on here is also, of course, all the consultancies that help those organizations, like ThinkPlace. What's been interesting is the other trend that I've noticed, that hiring managers are a lot more picky and specific, meaning that they look more like for strategic inputs. So rather than demonstrating what you've built up or what the outcomes that you've delivered, the main hiring decision, what I perceive as when that's happening, is when you talk about the shared problem. For example, a friend of mine is now interviewing for a head of design products and banking products at CBA, and he connected actually by accident with one of the GMs, and because they were looking at establishing a design system as well as some other factors. And just through that communication, like, oh, wait, we need someone who can do this. Have you done that? Yes, he has done that at another bank. Let's have a chat, because the problems that I encountered there were really interesting from both a design and development perspective. Let's have a chat. So rather than asking about like, oh, do you have a job? It's like, be really, look at yourself, okay, like what kind of problems do I find really interesting? What is specifically, for example, another designer found that he is a specialist in working with nuts and energy companies and specific problems that happen in that environment, like highlighting those and yeah, provide a bit more of a topic to discuss both on LinkedIn and networking settings as well as during your application. So center yourself around the problems that you can solve, because if anything is sure, there's a lot of problems to be solved. So that's kind of the optimistic overview that you can have of 2025. There's a lot of problems still to be solved, but it might be more in your hands to advocate for that and showcase that. Let's see, anything else? Yeah, so we've been through a cycle of consolidation and rebalancing in the last few years. So that means that lowering hiring volumes means that you have a lot of competition, but if you find a way to connect with the company beforehand, or with the hiring manager, or with the internal talent team, or have a really good recruiter indeed that already knows a hiring manager, use all of that to your benefit. And when they then happen to look at your LinkedIn and you are very fascinated about banking, and suddenly they see like 5 blog articles about, oh, banking and or home loan, etc., and you're interested in that, then a lot more checks start to click, and you have a way up with in the hiring process. Be careful indeed with consolidation of roles. Be very clear what you can and cannot do. Like, we all love to start a job, but after I've had many people also having to leave a job after 3 or 6 months because simply the scope what they asked for is way too large, especially at companies who don't understand design well enough or have simply unrealistic expectations. So that's something to be wary of. And we've kind of been in that rebalancing situation that companies now are carefully reinvesting back into digital and design. So kind of being part of that is something what you want to highlight, but not putting all your eggs in one basket is also something that we've learned. Like myself, what I did after realizing that my job was made redundant, because with all the lovely heads of design and heads of products that I was working with, well, there was no work. So my company was very kind in letting me find a way to find work, but since there wasn't, what I ended up doing was helping each and every candidate I spoke to look at their backgrounds and then coach them and help them find a way to transform those skills in maybe a different setting. And as such, I started doing coaching for a bit, which was really fun, but also not essentially what was for me, because I can only do so many hours in a day. So I ended up making a pivot to, for example, medical recruitment. There's a huge demand for GPs all across Australia, so that's what I'm doing at the moment. I still have very much a love for design. I'm doing some projects at my company at the moment, but what I had to give up in terms of my area specialty design, I gained in a company that's really supportive, it's stable, and I have the opportunity to do things on the side. So that's another consideration. And that was a personal step that I did, but I know everything is different for everyone. And almost there. One thing that I remembered also from Ru was there for when Michael from Strategizer, exactly a year ago, was here as well, describing business modeling for in a volatile, uncertain, what was it? In a VUCA world? Yes, so that stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Well, if you can make sense of that, that's basically where we're at. So a lot of companies are now looking for certainty, for someone who can help them reduce risk. So if you can highlight yourself as the person who can solve that problem for them through design, they definitely have an ear for that. So what I ended up doing was also applying the business modeling to myself. Like, see yourself as a little startup. Like, where's my value? What are the kind of problems that I really enjoy solving? And how does that relate to the environment that I find myself in? Posting about that, connecting with that, asking people for help. I find a lot of people being open to that, and that's essentially also how I found my current job. So if anyone wants to talk about how to manage the situation they're in, I'm here for beers after. I can talk endlessly, but I will take some questions if anyone has one. And thanks so much for bearing with me. I know it's been a bit from, in Dutch they say van hak op de tak, which means from A to B without any line in between. But yeah, it's been a pleasure, and I hope it was helpful.
Woo!
Good job.
Nailed it.
So if anyone wants some coaching from Gus at the pub, what beer do you drink?
Super dry.
Super dry?
Not too many otherwise when coaching goes.
You can talk about the quality of coaching after, but
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, just
That's true.
But thank you so much, Gus, and thanks for them so much for the impromptu
Yeah.
getting up and just sharing some of the insights from a market perspective and taking that objective view. It's a very different perspective to Rachel's, very much being centered, and I actually got goosebumps when that slide when you talk about crying on the couch, but then you get to the I am worthy.
Yeah.
And that's a really good foundation to then draw from and grow from, because you're actually present and you can see the world and you look at things differently. And then obviously from your perspective, you're talking about all of the objective things that are real. It's not about what we do as designers and it's our deficiencies. This is just a shit market we're in.
Yeah.
So don't internalize that. Like don't blame yourself for that. It's not
second arrow.
blame the stupid idiot with orange hair in the US. Crazy guy. So yeah, very different perspectives, and hopefully we'll see that on the panel as well. So, but thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, guys. Nailed it.
And apologies for breaking, not getting the slides in there. Okay. So, we'll get to the panel in a second, but before we do that, just have a quick chat with your neighbour. Hopefully it just got you thinking, got you sharing a bit of your perspectives, because what we like to do when we do panels here is we're obviously looking at our experts on the panel, but you guys are also experts in this journey, so we want to have a dialogue. We don't want it just to be us, so feel free to chime in and share your perspectives, and we're just here to get the conversation started. So, but to introduce the panel, we haven't met Steve yet. So,
Woo, Steve!
Hi everyone. I've been a design thinking practitioner for just over 10 years now. Started at CBA with Lucas. IDEO came through. CBA spent an inordinate amount of money with IDEO, and then they rolled design thinking out. I was doing kind of contact center design, press 1, press 2. Trying to not make the IVR experience shit as best I could, and then found this amazing toolkit and went, oh my goodness, I don't want to go back to this contact center stuff and technology stuff, and been fortunate to spend a few years in the innovation lab at CBA. Then I went to a product studio called Us2. If anyone's played Monument Valley, that was designed by Us2, so worked for those folks. And then I joined Qantas in November 2019.
You look like a great flight attendant.
That's why they grounded all the planes.
That's right. So it was eight weeks after I started, this thing called coronavirus kind of went boom. And I was just saying to Gus, kind of the last 5 years from an employment perspective has been kind of shit for me. And I'm at the, hopefully coming out of the back end of that. But over the last 9 months, I've been looking for a job. So very real experiences, and just talking about it now, the what's wrong with me. I'm in that kind of what's wrong with me phase. Is every organisation in Sydney, do they know that I'm shit? Like, have I got a black mark against my name? Are all the talent people going, fucking Steve Brown? No. Not again. Yeah, not this guy again. So I'm in that kind of phase at the moment.
The worst thing I can say is that, not that I'm anything to judge by, but I learnt so much from you, because you were the one cohort ahead of me, and that, like I said, my first design project was led by Steve. And it was just amazing going through that journey. And so when you see some really good designers, and Steve's a fucking good designer, and he's struggling to get work, it's like, that's just really reflective of the marketplace we're in at the moment. So,
That's when you're scary. Can we talk about something else?
How about that orange guy in America?
But that's true. But at the same time, like, it's like when we talk about getting centered, and we'll get into obviously how we manage those situations, because they're real. But there's always a pathway out. We have to find that pathway, and that's really what we want to get to. So we're starting with a down, and hopefully we can make it up. But yeah, and obviously maybe Gus, a little bit more about yourself. I know you're been very active in this community for a long period of time, and doing a lot of coaching and guiding and finding people jobs. And I know when.
Someone lied.
We need to work out the design of that door.
Design issue.
But I know, and maybe give us a bit of your background, because I know you've done a bit of psychology, a bit of
my background is in organizational psychology, and I was always fascinated on the biggest development point of our life, which is actually our professional life. And that's how I decided to go into recruitment to, specifically in UX design. If anyone knows the podcast, this is Human-Centered Design Thinking. This is HCD, done by Jerry Scullion. Speaking of mentors, I'm very grateful that he was my first UX design candidate. Can you believe it? So he helped me understand design, and he did amazing projects at the Department of Justice, especially around virtual courtrooms, as well as how do you do that with in situations where abuse was involved, especially around children. So he had done amazing research on that. Long story short, yeah, I've learned a lot also working out with startups, and had the fortune to really witness design from many aspects in different industries. So yeah, always keen to share insights on that, as well as well, an understanding of personal journeys in that I've also experienced. So yeah, very happy to be here.
Awesome. And anything else? I know you introduced yourself before. Is there anything else you wanted to share with the intro?
I'm the diversity hire. Just kidding, just kidding.
We actually worked so hard to get another female on here, but last minute cancellation. And I think that was Ben's excuse to try and get me off the moderation and get somebody else in, but unfortunately it backfired.
We playfully coined it the manel.
Manel.
Yeah,
Manly
the man panel.
I also said we needed 3 men to be able to counteract the superpowers and energy of Rachel. So it's yeah, that's a reality. So anyway, obviously taking your talk, there was a few themes in there, and you obviously started with finding that sort of center and being mindful and finding that motivation, like starting from that inner self first. Maybe I'll get you to sort of start that conversation, and we'll sort of get different perspectives of that journey from Steve and Gus.
Sounds good. What was the question?
Just talking about that inner journey, like how you found yourself,
yes.
and you said that's really where you started to find yourself, and that whole I am worthy piece. And
I really think at the core of it, even I still think about how I got to that stage. And I think it's just continually showing up and faking it when you needed to, and slowly earning that, just being proud of yourself. Like every time you kind of do something that you're like, oh, I'm so glad I showed up in this way. I'm so glad I delivered this work this way. But also a combination of living on a farm with this amazing family of people who sing and dance. My partner's mom is a drama teacher, so she fits that persona exactly. And she just loved me for who I was, and I think that also fed into it. So yeah, it was a really powerful shift.
And how do you center yourself, Steve, in the current environment?
Jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hugs, basically.
so for anyone that doesn't know, jiu-jitsu is a martial art, and it's joint submissions and chokes. So 2 or 3 times a week I roll around, mostly with sweaty men, and we try to break each other's bones or put each other to sleep. So that's
I'm assuming it's weight-based.
No.
Against someone like Victor would not be.
Careful. Absolutely roll women. I've rolled my 15-year-old son, so it's not. And we were talking about it before. It's one of those arts that size doesn't matter if you've got technique. There's obviously laws of diminishing return when you're 6'3" and 130 kilos like I am.
You do like the Japanese?
It's a challenge.
Later on, we'll have a few more beers. But no, during COVID's, I couldn't do it. Because, my daughter has a disability. My wife's immunocompromised, and COVID at Qantas was a shit time, and I started drinking. So because I couldn't do jiu-jitsu, I didn't have that outlet. I didn't have that space to not think, not worry about what was going on. And that's helped me over the last 9 months because I launched my own little startup. Created a laundry product, so I didn't do digital or anything like that. Created something very, very different. And that has kind of been the motivation, like what's the thing to get me out of bed and what am I working on? So get up and built everything myself. So the formulation with the Melbourne company, Shopify store. I'm a master at Canva now. ChatGPT is my executive team, answers all the big questions. So yeah, that's what's been keeping me centered. But it's a startup. It's my first business. I'm making all the mistakes, and now it's hard now at the honeymoon periods wearing off, and it's a reality because there's been no income over the last 9 months. It's like, this ain't paying the bills, it's actually adding to the bill, so what do I do? But that's the sort of intrinsic motivation to get up in the morning. What am I doing today? Jobs in the morning, LinkedIn, Klaviyo, email flows in the afternoon.
Yeah, nice. And Gus, your perspective on how you centered yourself and.
Yeah, we're both open, frank conversations with friends. Sometimes crying on the couch too, and also being open about that. That does help. Also I love motorbikes. Maybe not everyone knows this, but the founder of Inside Timer also meditates while on his motorbike. I was like, I can relate to that. So that's, and if I'm just angry, playing the drums. Just bash it out. Some hard, some 80s rock, and ZZ Top, get it going. Yeah.
I mean, if there's a common thread in there, it's actually just getting out and do stuff. Because I think in doing, you let go of the thinking a lot of the time.
I always remember someone once said to me, when a dog goes through something traumatic, it shakes it off. But I think for us humans, we sometimes just contain it in our bodies. So I think movement, and I read somewhere that you physically can't be depressed if you're moving. So the movement part is so strong to shake off whatever energy.
You can only think about one thing at a time.
Yeah.
So if you're moving, you're worrying about not bumping into a wall or putting into a pothole.
Yeah.
If you're not thinking about it's the same thing. If you're doing a jigsaw puzzle, you worry about the jigsaw puzzle. Doing knitting, you worry about knitting and not blowing it up. And therefore you're not thinking about your problem. Your problem's still there, so when you stop doing the jigsaw puzzle or knitting, but doing that
game over, just walk.
You're not thinking about that problem.
And you just need that, like a 5-minute break or a 10-second break from the thought of the worry can just make such a big difference too.
I heard someone once say you can't have emotion without motion. I was like, that was a little bit of a, ooh.
Yeah, I like that.
Which sort of gets back to the depression, because depression is about not feeling anything. So if you're static, then you're opening yourself up to more of that lack of emotion. Really interesting. Thank you. So moving on and thinking about, I know, Rachel, you're a huge extrovert.
I'm actually not.
But
oh yeah,
yeah,
I seem extrovert.
Like you've done that with intention. Like you've gone and you go and post. And I know, Steve, one of the reasons why I thought great to reach out to you for the panel, because I loved your little snippets on building your jiu-jitsu laundry detergent business, and there's like nice visuals and how to build the product. And I mean, maybe let's talk about being visible. Maybe Steve, maybe I'll open with you and talk about that journey of how do you show up and still make yourself relevant in the.
I put Gus saw it, maybe some other people saw it. I put a LinkedIn post out. I'm just trying to cut through the noise and just take the piss. So I put a post out today. Kind of you might have seen. We've all seen it, right? So, a Linkfluencer. Hey, here's 27 steps that I did to grow my brand, grow my business. Here's what I learned about B2B.
Make a 6-figure income.
Pardon?
Make a six-figure.
6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure.
And a bikini shot of you, right? Yeah.
Yeah, in Ghibli. Steve in Ghibli bikini. No, and then at the end it's, connect, comment, Apple vibe, whatever at the bottom, and I'll send you my thing. And I had this idea of like, all right, I'm going to take the piss out of that. So I launched my own SaaS today, Steve as a Service. And Steve as a Service is my resume. So I framed it up like that. People are doing Ghibli and today I'm doing something unique, cutting through the noise, launching SaaS, Steve as a Service. Actually, it's me and my resume. When you get access to it, here's all the things, 20 years, and kind of flipping that script around. And I've been just trying to do that over the last 6 months, just try to be different in LinkedIn, because it's kind of a sea, I feel like it's a sea of sameness at the moment. So asked ChatGPT last week, what do you think I look like? Create a photo. And it was a younger middle-aged white guy, beard, and here's the prompt, and everyone else do it. And then there was 20 odd people put theirs, and it was just variations of the same thing that my one looked like. A friend of mine, Henk, he's South African. It obviously picked up he was South African, and it made him black. And then there was women who they thought ChatGPT created as a man, so it was just really interesting. But just trying to put myself out there and be different enough that hopefully someone in the network goes, that's the sort of person that I want to work with. That, fingers crossed, you know, there's lots of baits out in the water at the moment, but yeah, just trying to be different, trying to do
Sending it out.
something.
Yeah, and you have fun doing it, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Coming up with that today was a lot of energy. And here's all the ones that I want to take the piss out of, and that's amazing. Actually, I actually want that framework that person wants. Click Apple, connect. So there's some interesting things out there, but just try not to take myself too seriously.
Yeah, I think if you look at Steve's post, you'll see a lot of the funny, like, you know, when you get say, I support, I like, and there's a lot of funny responses.
No, I might have to do
some stats
might have
on
to do
that.
the math on that.
So
I like
it's good to just keep up with what he's posting. And Gus, from your perspective, how do you? I know you would have coached a lot of people in this space as well as to how to make themselves visible.
Yeah, absolutely, and it kind of alludes to what I was mentioning before. Like, we all have our things, or problems that you've been part of as a designer, but maybe it ended up on the shelf, so you don't really get to see it, or it's under NDA. But still, you've gained some insights on what the problem is about. And it's not so much what you ended up delivering, but more about what did you learn about that. You can always like anonymize it a little bit, so share about that. So share most what you want to be doing later. So kind of like, it's similar as manifesting. Like, if you want to really work at an airline, then share everything travel related and related to the value that you bring to a company. Just multiply basically what you really want to be doing, and just by repetition you'll be seen as an expert. So that's a really good way to stand out. Really follow what you're passionate about and don't have any excuses. So I love your laundry business. I do see you in the future as the laundryman of the, but I'm extrapolating.
My wife would like to see that.
Steve's
But own it. Just do it. Action beats inaction in any time. So, you know, in iteration, it's more about the amount of iterations, more about just being visible from that perspective. And that can be on LinkedIn, can be in communities, can be in the daily conversations that you have. It is the law of averages. I know that lots of applications, it's taking it out on you. That you feel like, oh, after 30 conversations or 30 applications, I have 0. It's a similar story. I've got something sort of similar where every time I started a new job as a recruiter, I needed to make at least 200 calls to speak to 200 different hiring managers, and then eventually maybe one would work with me. And that's the raw average. So I knew that after hitting 180 no's, the chance of getting a yes is getting bigger. So kind of fooling yourself that way helps. And basically welcome each rejection because, okay, great, on to the next one. So yeah, look at it from that perspective. And also...
what happens if you get on the third one?
Yeah.
The next 197, it's going to be pointless. You already got on the third one. But I think it's going to be the 198th one.
Oh, and then I realized I called the same guy twice. No, it kind of like, it's a very emotional thing to invest into an application, but I apply a bit of like a fire and forget method. It's like, great, that's done, checklist, I've done my bit, and now it's waiting to see if it's gonna, whatever happens next happens. And so you don't, drain yourself too much.
It's hard though.
It's fucking hard.
It's fucking hard.
It's really
The
hard.
the constant rejection, and that's, you know, I mean, that pit of pessimism. It feels like constant rejection. You get into that. It must be me. It must be my CV. It must be I've got black marks. So it's hard, but
I think something
get out of
interesting
it.
is the way that I approached it when I was looking for a job for 6 months is to gamify it by literally counting like a Notion board, cataloging each rejection. The one that took like 68 days to reject, and I was like just laughing at it. But like that, and then that being able to, and then ended up being a post, you know, because I'd seen a few people do it as well, and that's one of the things that obviously resonated with everyone because everyone's under the same microscope. But I think for me, it was looking back on it, it was just a way of playing with something and making it interesting and distracting myself in another way.
Absolutely.
So
It's play.
What worked for me might be different for something else.
The longest one I got, and I shared it on LinkedIn because I couldn't believe it, it was 560 days.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
For 2 years, basically.
Yeah. Before, and it was the it was the automated. Thanks for applying. It was great to get to know you. I haven't applied. When did I apply for that? And I went back through the emails, and yeah, it was like 500 and something days.
I reckon that's probably they've done a system upgrade and they've tried to make all these emails have gone
In the backlog, yeah.
Or some new talent person just going, oh God.
Oh, let me reply to those emails. Yeah, exactly.
I think like a really fun thing, like a way that I tried to make, you know, basically applying for 100 jobs more fun. Well, it still wasn't fun, but it made it more interesting for me, is like I would be like, okay, these 10 applications, I'm going to try and do like a one-page, like super visual CV. So I'm going to do like everything in graphs. And I'll be like, okay, cool, these 10 applications, I'm going to do like just storytelling, like not like my regular CV. Just talk about like a challenge and an outcome, and like I think it helped because it was interesting getting different responses back and just seeing like, oh, okay, across like, and I try and make them really different. Like that 10 might have like one finance, one travel, one startup, and just see like, is that
What hits?
working? Is it not working? Did people find it interesting? Did they have questions? And I felt like sometimes when they were really almost abstract CVs, I would get more of a call back.
Interesting.
Be like, who are you?
That's cool.
Yeah, tell me more. It's very blank.
Just all black.
Yeah.
You're like invisible ink.
You're redacted.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Sorry, I can't share anything. I'm under NDA.
It's actually interesting. I actually remember having a conversation with Michelle probably a year ago now, and Michelle spoke about what she did to get the job here, and I think you had like a one-slide PowerPoint with just a few dot points of value.
That's what I interviewed here. They one day actually found me on LinkedIn in my bio, which like resonated with like the ThinkPlace's like values and alignments. And then after my first interview, I just sent a one-sided sort of rehashing of what I heard like the GM at the time say, and then 5 points of where I thought I could bring value. And that really
Smart. Hot
Yeah,
tips.
don't read my 3, 4, 5, however long your CV is, just 5 bullet points, done. Yeah, so
No, sorry, you finish first.
I was going to say just do something different. Try to be
Yeah,
different.
and the creativity of that, I think you put yourself in a different mindset when you create, and then you come out with so many skills, because now you know you can survive that and build 10 different mysterious CVs.
There's a lot of automation now in the first cut. I was just speaking about how companies are receiving not 30 applications but 200.
Yeah.
And I got my first rejection at 12:33 in the morning, so I know it was a computer.
And the person was working very hard.
It's their first day.
But is there an auto cut? Because I've got a month that I've got to find a job, so it's sounding like I'm not going to get one. So it's good to hear that it's going through it. But like, is there? Do the CVs get auto filtered first? Right?
Yeah, so that's what
Well, I'd love an interesting CV, but I'm scared that the computer won't understand it.
Yeah, so how I would like work around that is like I just basically have like a Google Doc of like all of like, you know, back then there was no ChatGPT, so I had to like align manually to the keywords and stuff, because there is that keyword, like, well, now it's much smarter with generative AI, but back then it was more like, word match. So you don't have to be so word matched anymore. If the tool is using generative AI, not word match. But I would kind of like upload and apply that one, but then I would probably try and find the hiring manager and be like, this is the real one I want to submit.
Just one page of your text, right?
Yeah, or like, yeah. And sometimes like a lot of really big organizations, like they use like, I think it's called like Sunrise or like the back end program. And it's like you actually populate it. You basically write it and like your experience and stuff. And then there's at some point it says like upload an attachment, and that's where I would upload the more like interesting one. But then I suppose that was almost like part of the strategy on the 10. And like I didn't like look for like 100 jobs and then break it down. It was like very incremental.
I like that second CV. I like the CV with the computer and then a second CV.
Yeah.
Because they must be getting the same CV from everyone, because everyone's putting
keyword. Yeah, it would make it very boring.
That's why being like more human now is so much more important. I just wanted to bring it back to a point of what you were saying about introversion, extroversion. I think it's really, I'm not actually very extroverted. I know it seems that way, but I much prefer one-on-one. I need to chill and recover. And I think if you are an introvert, don't be afraid to put yourself out there in any way that suits you. Like I tend to be an oversharer. I think that's my weakness, but I've turned it into some sort of weird strength that makes people laugh. So I think finding out how you're comfortable sharing on LinkedIn, or even I used to find talks terrifying, and I still kind of do, but it's just we're all human, and I think communication is so important. So why not practice it in all the different aspects, even if you don't appear like you want to.
Can I offer a story of hope?
Yeah, 100%.
We'll come back to you. We'll come back to you. I heard you.
Therapy. And a thank you to Sydney Design Thinking. So I'm living, breathing proof that when you put yourself out there, you can actually create a business and go with it. So if I rewind 6 months ago, Rachel and Gus, I know your story because I was that person. Came back from holidays in the UK, seeing one of my best mates. I'd been to Canada, had a fantastic holiday. I was full-time employed. I came back, had a 9 a.m. meeting with my manager, and she fired me. That was it. End of story. So I just got back. It was a pretty harsh way to, well, not fired, they just said, we're going to let you go. So we're done. Same thing.
Fired with nice words.
Same thing. I see this fired.
One gets a check.
And instead of going down the path of poor me and all the rest of it, I thought this is a gift, and this is time for me to pivot this completely, 180 degrees. And what I did, I then went straight home, I got on my laptop, and I'd had an ABN from years ago, and I re-registered my ABN. So that was the first thing I did. And from there, I thought, screw this. This has been a gift for me to get off my arse and actually start my own business and give it a go. Because I hated working for managers. I hated being told what to do. I thought, screw this, stick it up your arse. I'm going to go and do my own thing. And that's what I did. Now, a week and a half later, I went to the Sydney Design Thinking group, and I think it was in the Salesforce Tower. It was one of the events.
At last year, maybe?
Yeah, at last year. So anyway, meeting different people, and one of your presenters, I just can't think of her name, not Marina. Manisha. And she said, what do you do? And I said, well, I've set up a business, and what I do is I work with startups from ideation, and this is the first time I pitched it, ideation, through to pitch decks and grant writing to get money coming into their startups. And she said, oh my God, I've been trying to win these grants, from like DFAT for years. And I said, I've won a host of them because I used to work for a hospital and I'm working on an international program. And she said, great. She went off because she was about to present. But the second person I spoke to, I sat down and he said, what do you do? And I repeated my story. And his words were, oh my God, the guy that's just left 2 minutes ago needs you right now. Right now. Can you meet me tomorrow? I said, what the hell? I'm not doing much else, so sure. And I went and had that meeting, and he said, sounds great, like let's trial this. So October, November, December, I was working, I charged a retainer, just a small retainer to get me through. And the brand you see in my shirt now, I'm now an integral part of a startup where I'm working 3 days a week, and I'm paid accordingly. There's some white knuckle moments. You've got a short runway, but it proves to people if you get off your arse, you can actually make these things happen. But key to it is networking. You have to get out there and talk to people. Now I've just spent the last 2 days with this brand on my shirt down at the Sydney Smart Energy Conference. And we've been amazed. It's the first time we put the brand out there to market. We've been amazed at the response. We've even now had an opportunity come through from the German Trade Commission, I think it's the equivalent of Austrade, etc. They want our product. They want it there now, and they want to, she's talking, there's all sorts of incentives we want to get you over there. So I guess the moral of the story is, get off your ass, stop whimpering,
Right on the
all the rest of it, we've all been there, we've all been caught in it. But if you start to put yourself out there and think differently, you're all in the design area. My skill set is business development, but I've been involved with educational design before. But the last bit, I actually have some good news for all of you. There's actually 3.
Whoa, I'm sold. What is happening?
And a free shot steak.
For 3 of you in the crowd anyway. Who knows I work for nsw.gov.au?
Yep.
Who checks it regularly?
Yeah.
So I just sat in the background and I checked. There's actually 3 roles going as we speak. One is for, and I don't work for New South Wales Government, this is 3 good roles. So one is, the first one is, principal lawyer advising, Associate Director Design Service, New South Wales Digital Services. So that's the first one.
Applied for it. No one else applied for it.
Have you applied for it already?
Yeah.
So that's the first one. The second one is Principal Delivery Lead, Human Centred Design.
Did you apply for that one too?
Didn't know about that one. I'll see you in the car park.
And the third one, I can't find it now, but anyway, there's like 3 or 4 roles, and that was me just blindly, and I'm not a design specialist. I looked under a very different category for a different reason. But I guess what I say to you all is, get off your ass. Go and get an ABN tomorrow.
I think that's what you say, and Steve did that as well. Is getting your ABN, getting a domain name and a business name that match, and then you figure out the business as you go.
Yeah.
That's what I've done.
And you sort of, at least you're creating, at least you're designing, at least you're staying active.
Exactly.
And then you build a website and you do a thing, you figure out how to code, and you're like, hold on, I should do Calendly. And you're creating, and then as you do that in the morning, in your ritual from 6 a.m. to midday, and then you have a little meditate and you go for coffee with some friends and you go for a swim.
And you enjoy,
and you enjoy the journey.
They should be on the panel. They're on their own manel.
Good job.
Manel.
Yeah, it's not hard. I've done it, and I think there's enough government help out there now. I think there's even a government grant that pays you for up to a year to set up your business, and it's equivalent of the unemployment benefit. It's something like that. Used to be
That's
called
pretty good.
EIS, the program, but if you Google it, you'll find it. So the opportunity is there, guys.
Grab it by the balls.
Yeah, exactly. So,
But I think
sort of that.
we were going to start getting into sort of that hustling side of things. I think. It's definitely on point with where we're going. So it's a really great segue into, and we've
Thank
sort of
you.
covered a bit of it with the judo. And I know, Rachel, we haven't spoken much about your hustle that you started. Probably more than a hustle. Like you started your own startup as well.
Yeah, still going.
Still going.
Still going. We've just decided that it's not the main source of income, but it's still, we can grow it slowly. And then started another one called Faster Zebra with Charbel. We're trying to build out a school to teach people how to build your own product and basically not have to work for anyone else. And yeah, lots of other things on the side as well, like doing more speaking. Yeah, I think it's just opened up the doors by being creative and posting and.
I hope you're not waiting for a check from us.
I'm pretty happy with the pizza. It's good.
But actually, one thing I found out recently as well, or this year, was you were talking about the procurement process with big corporates, and it's always long and hard. If you're a small enough business, I think there's some programs you can get on. You can actually sign on as a provider to government, and it's quite easy to do as a small business. It's only once you get past a certain size it gets a lot more onerous.
And they're increasingly preferencing social enterprise and B Corp.
Yes. So look at those opportunities, and that way you can try and at least get some income whilst you're maybe working on that big corporate contract as well.
Steve's suds.
The other thing too is if you're not on a panel, if you're not on a panel, try and network with someone who is on a panel and just subcontract through them. So there's other ways of getting through. If you know someone who has lines into a big corporate, you can go under their banner, but you can still charge your rates and still work on your business. So there's ways to think about those sorts of things as well, and be creative and network. Networking is key because you'll get guidance. exactly like
fun.
It's fun, yeah. Just have a good time doing it. That's where you want to get to. Yeah.
I know, Gus, you did a lot of helping a lot of startups over the last year as well. I mean, it's good to
You're like at different stages, mostly early stage, or yeah. That was also quite interesting. I learned a few things from that because once you start talking and they're like, "Oh, tell me more, interesting." Like you assume a lot of things are common knowledge, but you're surprised how much isn't. So a lesson from me was also be very much aware of your IP. It's good to give them an insight of what you can offer, but also make sure that you know for yourself when that you're a freemium model, that you're not free forever, but there's going to be a charge later. So that was stepping into startup world myself. That was one of my key learnings as well. Still working with a few startups, which is interesting. Also, combination of like using AI for your resume. Of course, but yeah, it's definitely a lot of opportunities there. And also on the note of panels, not every job is on Seek. A lot of companies, did you know that it costs between $300 to $450 per job ad to post? So a lot of companies are like, screw that, we've got our own job board. So find your kind of companies in your areas that you're interested in, go to their career page, favorite it, maybe set up an RSS notification for updates. Old school indeed. And also literally go to LinkedIn and search job and your job title. It will be in a post, like, oh, we just started hiring this. I've seen over a dozen in a day in the design space in the last week or two. Just by being connected and looking things up, and I'm not even recruiting anybody anymore. So yeah, there are a lot of ways to still be creative and yeah, start with yourself. Like I landed in those startups opportunities, to circle back to that, because I had a network and an interest, and suddenly I started doing investor introductions. And this CPO I spoke to has an interest in that specific thing, and they need analysis on this. So, and before I knew it, was networking and for free. But yeah, that's where you know things like, oh wait, I have a lot of things that I know and can ask money for, but definitely start asking money. Be upfront, and I was speaking with Rachel about this, like, how much do you charge? Roughly speaking, think of the highest number that you can say with a straight face. Literally, that's where you start. If they go back and say like, oh, that's not really what we're looking for, we were more thinking about this, like, okay, well, actually that was my A tier, like I do have a reduced tier as well.
I'm really interested in working with you.
Exactly.
Head to discount.
Absolutely, like, you know, for certain, I'm really intrigued by the problems you're facing. I'm confident that I can bring a quick and swift solution. Anyways, you learn how to talk these things through. They can be very organic, but make sure you get things in writing too. That's to conclude that.
Yeah, and just to sort of finish the evening and the sort of last topic and framework, sort of looking at like how do you go about being the creator? Because that's sort of where you started to leave your talk and sort of that trajectory out. And, how do you manifest what the future is going to be?
Yeah, in TikTok terms, they say "stay delulu" is the solution. So
say that for us old folks.
It's like be delusional is the solution.
Delulu.
Delulu, and I think it's really true.
Okay.
The Prime Minister's up with the lingo with the what's something with the no salulu or whatever.
No salulu, yeah.
Whatever he said of it.
Yeah, you're on fire, Lucas. Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah.
I think Albanese. I think a few people have touched on it, where it's about having fun. I think if you can get to that sweet spot where you're playing the game, you're gamifying it, you're just testing yourself to see what can you do that's entertaining and it makes you giggle. I think that for me is very creator energy, and especially for me in LinkedIn and even doing talks, I can only do a talk if it's making me laugh. And I think, oh, that could be funny. Yeah, I think it's that generosity of spirit as well gives you more creativity too.
The laundry thing that I launched was I had my designer hat on. It was you do a lot of laundry when you do any kind of martial arts, any kind of active thing, and your stuff starts to smell. If you sweat it enough, it starts to smell. So I saw the opportunity. I saw that there was no solution. Strategic designer hat on. There's nothing in the market. Spoke to some people, did what I would do on a project, and when actually there's something interesting here, and just took the punt and launched it. So it's a laundry booster additive that actually gets the sweat smell out of. Started with jiu-jitsu gear, but it works on all of our mountain biking gear. Anything that you sweat in, it gets the smell out.
Steve Suds.
It's called Gear Guard, and I have samples. So if anyone always be
yes,
selling,
let's all buy some.
One's for Rach.
We need that. We need that. We have teenagers.
Yep. So
tell me about it.
I've got some. Hit me up. But yeah, I came up with the observation because it was like my day job. So I treated it as a project. Built the business model and went, all right, what's my cost? What's the projections? The Excel spreadsheet made absolute sense before I launched. That graph does not go up at the same level that in my head it would now that it's reality. But yeah, just what I would do in a project, in a business setting. So that's kept me interested, but also I'm feeling like it's keeping the mind active for when I do go back to work. So I'm not just sitting around, playing Call of Duty and what have you with my son, as much as I want to, but it's keeping, all right, I can still kind of talk the talk when I have to do it.
Keeps you sharp.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what about yourself, Gus?
What helped me a lot is having an accountability buddy. Berta, she's not here, as she usually is. Fellow designer, and having a Notion page and a weekly or daily meeting, even like, okay, I want to do something, I want to create something. Even like, what I realized, especially as designers, you have all the tools. Like, what do you do when you don't know? You start with discovery. So literally do it step by step. Finish with the business model canvas and just do it. One of the things, when we grow up, we all realize that the idea we have as little kids that adults know everything. That's not true. You can apply that to design as well. The world knows shit about it. So that means that everything that you do know is of immense value, and all you need to know is tell them. So that's kind of the thing that I realized as well. And if you're afraid that you're the imposter, the reverse is actually true. Like a lot of people, titles, like that's amazed me as well, like that I've been able to help executives with changing complete careers, and they're like, oh, thank you, and they're willing to pay me for that. It's like, oh shit. It's like, okay, that's interesting. So believe in what you can offer, and have fun. Be curious.
It's nice having different perspectives, because what I've got from you, Rach, was to find that sense of happiness and where you can be generative in that fun space. Yours is all about be curious. There's a problem, find a problem and be curious about it and try and solve it. And then you came up with a couple. One was don't be scared to ask for support. Get someone to help you along the way.
Yeah.
And then also believe in yourself to round it all out. So it's a really great way to finish the discussion from a panel perspective, but I'd also love to open up to actually, how much time have we got? We've gone way over time.
How much time do you
Well, maybe we'll open up for a few questions and a bit of a discussion.
Can I compliment you? You did something brilliant that I'm a great fan of. You have a panel up here and you have the faces there and you're in the same order. The thing is, it's actually very useful if you go to a panel and have various things. And you, okay, that's her, that's what she does. That's very hard to reinforce. And to keep moving around the place.
We should just do that.
Yeah, so you're actually in the same order that you are.
Amazing.
Up there, so thank you for that.
Nice one.
Any questions before we close for the evening? Any insights that anyone wants to share?
Can I mention a very motivational work done about a century ago by Rudyard Kipling? You also know the poem If.
Yes.
And I was actually thinking about you and going to Bali. In that poem it says treat triumph and disaster just the same. And it means that if you've had a great success financially, you don't go and get, So that means that, in fact, or even biblically, I think it was Joseph who advised the Pharaoh that he had, remember the Pharaoh's dream and the sheep, etc.? And the 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. And that's, to a large extent, what a life is going to be. You're going to have windfalls, keep them, put them in the bank, change your behaviour just ever so marginally, have another free cider. And then when you get the lean times, like someone who just got fired, I don't care. I've got 50,000. I've got 50,000 in the bank. Fire me. In fact, when I used to work in the public service, I didn't take holidays for the first couple of years, so I actually banked them. So, and therefore,
they're worth more because you get your salary increase.
Yeah, eventually. So should I ever be fired, I've got that. Whatever, I've got that holiday coming straight to me. It's a little windfall, and I have actually a problem. I have a problem spending money.
We get that. That's great. I think you should be on the next panel. I think we need to learn about that.
All these choices, it's just overwhelming. I will put the choice up until tomorrow, unless I've got to pay it, my strata fees, my council rates, my water, I've got to pay those.
I love that.
And I wish I had that problem.
Yeah, don't we all?
Shit, what am I going to do now?
Good problem to have.
Good problem to have.
Even if I didn't have that, even if I had that problem, my wife doesn't have that problem.
Shared skills.
There's actually something I came across in my phone. I'm an economist. You've heard of FOMO, fear of missing out. There's actually a new one called JOMO. The
joy of missing out.
Yeah, I read it a couple of weeks ago.
That's a 30+
You really need
As
that.
I love that.
As an introvert, I love just missing out on stuff. Yeah, that was great. Well, that was super fun, guys. Yeah. Thank you for doing that presentation as well. I didn't.
But I get these things. Woohoo!
Oh yeah, thank you. Yay.